Namaskar, Jule and Jai Hind to everyone. Hearty welcome to all the participants of the Eco-Tourist training program of Ladakh. So let me give a brief introduction of myself. My name is Dr. Pavan Gupta. I'm working as faculty with the Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management, currently placed at its Noida campus. And as you all know, it is an institution of the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And right now I'm working as professor, associate professor and controller of examination, as well as nodal officer for IITTM Noida, heading the Noida campus of IITTM. So today's agenda for this session is that we'll discuss in brief about the introduction part of tourism. Basically, you can say what is tourism, how tourism system works, what are the various forms and components of tourism industry, and why tourism is such an important industry for the economy of the country. So briefly, this is the agenda for today's session, and here we proceed with the introduction part of tourism. Now, first and foremost thing is, what is tourism? Whenever we define any sort of theory, the first part that comes to our mind is how to define it. So as per the World Tourism Organization, tourism is traveling to and staying in places outside their usual environment for not more than one consecutive year for leisure, business and other purposes. So basically, tourism means movement of people away from their native place of residence for various purposes like leisure, business and other purposes. And the stay at the destination should not be more than for one consecutive year, and it has to be more than 24 hours. If it is less than 24 hours, then we call them as excursionists. If it is more than 24 hours and less than 1 year, then we call a person traveling from their native place of residence as a tourist. So this is what tourism is as far as definition goes. Then we have the various forms of tourism. Broadly, we classify tourism into two categories. One is international tourism and one is domestic tourism. Now, within the international tourism, we have two subcategories. One is inbound tourism and the other one is outbound tourism. So, inbound tourism involves non-residents traveling as visitors in that given area. That means foreigners coming to our country will be inbound tourists for us. So, say for example, a person from France comes to India. So, for India, he or she is an inbound tourist, right? Then we have outbound tourism. That means residents traveling as visitors in an area other than the area of their residence. That means if the Frenchman comes to India for France, he is an urban tourist, and for India, he is an inbound tourist. So Indians going abroad will be known as outbound tourists for India. Then we have the second category of domestic tourism. Domestic tourism means the residents traveling within the geographical vicinity of their own country, that is known as domestic tourism. That means if they are Indians, then Indians traveling within the geographical vicinity of India will be termed as domestic tourism, right? So these are two broader forms of tourism, international and domestic. Now a pertinent question comes to our mind: why people travel? That means if person has to travel, then what are the motivational factors that make people travel away from their native place of residence? That means why means the motivational factors that makes people travel from their native place of residence. Now we can see people travel for various reasons like pilgrimage. Here you can see the pictures of various temples, various monuments, various caves, religious spots related to Buddhism, related to Christianity, related to Islam, related to Hinduism, related to Jainism. So you can see any travel which is beyond their resident hometown for purpose of religion and pilgrimage is also known as tourism. So pilgrimage is one reason, watching the monuments is another reason. Then you can see a picture of Taj Mahal over here. So visiting the monuments, considering the heritage of the country, of the place that you visit, can be a big motivation factor for people to travel. Then comes food. Of course, people do like to travel for exploring food, and in today's world, you have organizations like World Food Travel Organization. So traveling for food has also become a very important motivational factor for people to travel. We have various food tours being organized in India and abroad, and I would suggest the people in Ladakh that you can also start food trails or food tours in Ladakh to showcase the local cuisine of Ladakh region to the foreign tourists as well as to the domestic tourists. So food can be a big attraction, and it is, I believe, I've been to Ladakh many a times, and I believe that this is one area which is yet to be explored. So along with ecotourism, you can also start tours related to promoting the local cuisine. Then you can have fairs and festivals as a part of motivation for travel. As you can see, the pictures depict a Kathakali dance is being done, Bihu is done, right? Then you have a Navratri Dandiya festival picture. You have a picture of, especially in the Maharashtra, we have during this period of Krishna Janmashtami, right? And maybe various dance forms. Holi is there. And you can see a picture of Bhangra over there. So people travel for dance forms, people travel to participate in religious festivals. These are all motivational factors for people to travel. Then another is to cover up places like Char Dham Yatras. You have Badrinath, Gangotri, Yamunotri, Kedarnath, which is a popular trail among the Hindu pilgrimage centers in India. So a lot of people travel to cover up the Char Dhams. In India, you have got two Char Dhams, I would say. One is the Char Dham of Uttarakhand, which is depicted here in the picture: Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, and Yamunotri. Then you have a Hindu pilgrimage Char Dham Yatra of the country. In the north, you have Badrinath and Kedarnath as part of it. In the south, you have Rameshwaram. In the east, you have Jagannath Puri, and in the west, you have Dwarka. So these places combined together are known as the Char Dham Yatra as far as Hindu pilgrimage is concerned. Then a lot of people travel to India for yoga purposes, for rest, relaxation and rejuvenation, and I believe even for people to come to Ladakh, these 3 R's will play a major role. The 3 R's stand for the rest, relaxation and rejuvenation. So yoga is one thing, and you'll be surprised to know that the government of India gives a special yoga visa. So come to India to practice yoga, foreigners can avail the facility of a yoga visa. As the pictures are depicting over here, this is a picture of a spa and people practicing yoga on the banks of river Ganga in Rishikesh. And we also term Rishikesh as the yoga capital of the country, wherein International Yoga Festival is also held every year in the month of November. Of course, this year it's a little different scenario, but otherwise you have International Yoga Festival being celebrated in Rishikesh. Then a lot of other places in India have come up as spa destinations for the relaxation of and rejuvenation of the body, mind and soul. So a lot of places like Goa, then there are centers coming up in Karnataka. In Kerala you have Ayurveda centers which are popular all across the globe. People come, practice yoga, stay there, try to rejuvenate their mind, body and soul. So this is also a big motivation factor. So we have a concept of wellness tourism, wherein you have the Ayush concept, Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, right, and Homeopathy. So wellness comprises of all these concepts, and of course we do have an Ayush ministry also in the government of India, which promotes such type of wellness packages for tourists. Then comes the adventure sports, and Ladakh can be a great hub in India for promoting adventure activities. As we all know that 65% of our population is less than the age of 35. So India is a pretty young country, and considering what the current scenario, I believe domestic tourism is going to gain by leaps and bounds in the coming year or so. So we'll be focusing more on domestic tourism, and adventure will be one of the biggest attraction for tourists to roam around, considering the youth population that we have in the country. And of course, India has the capacity of being touted as the adventure capital of the world. because you imagine there are basically three classifications of adventure tourism. One is land-based adventure sports, second one is air-based adventure sports, and third one is water-based adventure sports. So considering the volume of the categories and the volume of the adventure sports sites we have in India, if you are able to promote adventure tourism in a big way, then India can become one of the biggest adventure tourism attractions for the entire world. And of course, Ladakh has that capacity to become the adventure tourism capital of the country of India, right? So promote adventure tourism. Like IITTM has been doing a few activities. Last year we've conducted a training program for adventure trekking guides for the youth of Ladakh. So ecotourism and trekking adventure can all go hand in hand in Ladakh. So not just ecotourism, it can also be clubbed with trekking, mountaineering, rock climbing, and your beautiful rivers of Zanskar, right, Indus. So water rafting and all these things can be clubbed together with ecotourism so that you promote and attract more and more tourists coming to the Union Territory. Then of course wildlife is one reason. Wildlife can be a big attraction, so people are motivated to travel, to explore the wilderness, especially the people who live in mega cities and big cities. So to escape the hubshabs of the city life, wildlife becomes a major attraction in the country, and you'll be surprised India has more than 500 wildlife sanctuaries and more than 100 national parks, and it has almost 10 biological reserves and ecological zones. So India is a country which is very rich in wildlife tourism as well. As you can see in the picture, you have two single-horned rhinos, and they are found in Kaziranga National Park in Assam. And you can see the tigers. So India also boasts of the world's largest population of tiger now. That is also supposed to be a national animal. And we also have a project Tiger, which is running since 1974 to protect the tiger and its habitat. Then of course, natural beauty, the beaches. So beaches are also an attraction in India. We have 7,500 kilometers approximately of coastline in India, and it is already a big attraction. And especially when beaches, we think of Goa, but Goa is not the only state. We have the highest and the longest coastline in the state of Gujarat. Right, so Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, West Bengal, all these states have a big coastline. 7,500 kilometers approximately of coastline can also be a big attraction and a big motivation for people to travel. As far as my information goes, during this pandemic time, the largest number of tourists traveling within India are going to the state of Goa for one simple reason: the sun, the sand and the beaches. Then of course mountains. India has 3,000 kilometers plus Himalayan ranges, right? So 3,000 kilometers of Himalayas, which are the highest mountains in the world. So we boast of 3,000 kilometers of mountain ranges only of the Himalayas. So that itself is a big attraction. And of course Ladakh region has got plenty of mountains, plenty of mountainous passes, the highest motorable roads in the world. So these are big attraction for people to travel. So Ladakh में ecotourism के साथ rather I would say these mountains can itself be a big ecotourism product for the people of the country as well as from abroad. Then people also travel for a concept called MICE, which is an acronym, and MICE stands for Meetings, Incentive, Conferences and Events. As you can see from the picture itself over here, people do travel from one place to another for meetings. Then there is a concept of incentive tours. People do well in their jobs, so to incentivize them, tour packages are given to the employees so that they travel. Then mega conferences are held all across the globe, and of course the events and exhibitions. And of course, India boasts of very beautiful destinations wherein big exhibitions and events are taking place. We have International Film Festival taking place in Goa. Then we have International Auto Expo, one of the largest auto expo in the world, being held every alternate year in the city of Greater Noida. We have exhibition centers like Pragati Maidan, then Hyderabad International Conference Center, then Bangalore, Mumbai. So we've got various destinations where MICE activities can be promoted. And of course, we now also have the cruise liners in India. As you must be aware, India's first indigenous cruise by the name of Angarya is already on, and we also have another company by the name of Jalesh Cruises. So these cruises can also be a tourism product for promoting MICE activities. So this is also one of the biggest motivation and reason for people to travel. Now coming away from the motivation factors, we've got the basic components of tourism and travel. What comprises? So what are the components of tourism and travel? Here you can see the basic components of tourism and travel are for travel planning, then for transport, then for accommodation, then for local travel, food and shopping, and tourist sites. So these are the basic components. As you can see from this, travel planning includes your travel agencies, then the travel agents, and then the tour operators. So these are the agencies, these are the organizations which are there to help you out in planning your travel. Then comes the transport. Transport comprises of airlines, the shipping, and then the surface transport comprising of the railways and the roadways. Then comes the accommodation. You have hotels, lodges, you have bed and breakfast, you have homestays. So you have variety of accommodation available in the country. As far as my knowledge goes, states like and the UTs like states like Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim, UTs like Jammu Kashmir, and your own very own Ladakh, they are pretty famous for the homestay concept. So it's not necessary that you have to cut off the mountains and build up big hotels. The biggest way of promoting tourism and helping the local population of the local region to gain some sort of economic benefit is by promoting the homestays. So if we promote homestays, we don't build up any additional infrastructure, so we don't damage the environment, we don't damage the mountains in our state and our UP, and we don't create any sort of ruffle as such, right? So no waste management, all these things, pollution is not there because of the construction activity. So we should promote more and more bed and breakfast stays and homestays, especially in fragile areas like Ladakh. If we promote more and more of bed and breakfast and homestays, we benefit the local economy, we benefit the local population, and of course we curb on the population, and we also curb on the adversities of construction and the environmental damage that construction can create. Then comes the local travel, wherein you have the taxis and cabs, you have the buses, and you have the car rentals. Then food and shopping are also one of the major important components. You have the restaurants, the food joints, the malls, the shopping centers. And of course, I just said a couple of minutes back that curating and creating food trails and food festivals and promoting local cuisine can be a big attraction in a state like and in a UT like Ladakh. Then you have the tourist sites, you have the local markets, you have the fee and charges, you have the local food, you have the monuments, and so on. So theoretically speaking, we have three basic A's as components of tourism. They are known as first the attraction, then the accessibility, right, and then comes the accommodation, right. So you need a destination first, then you need accessibility to reach the destination, and thirdly, when you reach there, you need accommodation. These are the three basic components of tourism. And then comes a lot of other A's like attraction, के बाद आता है आपका fourth A as amenities, fifth A as activities, and you can keep on increasing the A's as much as you can. So basic 4 A's कह सकते हैं, basic तो 3 ही हैं आपके, attraction, accessibility, and then accommodation, and of course then comes the amenities and activities, and these are the basic more components which involve the tourism and travel. Now coming to the transport sector, we have various airlines. If we think of airlines in the country, we have the largest airline in India by the name of Indigo, which is a low-cost carrier. So you have Indigo, Go Air, Alliance Air, Air Asia India, the SpiceJet. These are all low-cost carriers. Then in full-service carriers, you have Air India and Vistara. So full-service carriers दो ही हैं अभी, Air India and Vistara. Of course, we also have Jet Airways, but Jet Airways as of now is grounded. But I believe very soon it will be in the year, in the coming year or so, because Jet has already been sold off to a consortium of buyers, and very soon we'll see Jet Airways also coming up. So this is the air transport we have, and we also have the regional connectivity scheme, which is RCS, जिसको popularly हम कहते हैं उड़ान स्कीम, जिसमें और भी एयरलाइंस हैं, like Air Deccan is there, Air Odisha is there, Tower Air is there, जो कि Tier 2 और Tier 3 cities को आपस में जोड़ती है और उनको फिर Tier 1 cities से जोड़ती है. So regional connectivity scheme उड़ान is also there. Then we have in the transport we have the railways. So Indian Railways is the only railways that we have in India, so we don't have any competition as far as railways is considered. So Railways is a government-owned company, and to manage the railways we have the Railway Department, the Ministry of Railways, and within that you have almost 24 odd PSUs which work with the Indian Railways, which are practically owned by Indian Railways. Then you have corporations like Fast Train, which is managing the bullet train now, rather it's constructing, which is known as High Speed Railway Network Corporation of India, and you have various other corporations which help the railways, like Dedicated Freight Corporation of India and so on. And then of course you have IRCTC, which does the e-ticketing booking for the Indian Railways. IRCTC's full form is Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation, right? Indian Railways Catering and Tourism Corporation. So IRCTC not only does the ticketing part, it also does the catering part, and of course IRCTC also has various tour packages and airline tickets and everything. All these activities are done by IRCTC. You will be surprised to know that the world's largest e-ticketing platform is IRCTC, our very own government-owned company. IRCTC दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा e-tickets issue करती है. आप बड़े-बड़े companies के नाम सोचते होंगे, but ऐसा नहीं है. IRCTC is the largest e-ticketing platform in the world. Then of course, coming to the railway transport system, we have various tourist trains. जो luxury tourist trains इंडिया में चलती हैं, जिनमें कुछ के नाम हम यहाँ पर डिस्कस करेंगे, like the Maharaja Express. It is operated by IRCTC, and it is the most expensive luxury train in the world. It runs on 5 circuits, mainly centered on Rajasthan, and also connects tourist destinations of northwest and central India. So we boast of having the most expensive luxury train in the world. Our very own India has it, the Maharaja Express. Then second one is the Palace on Wheels, which is run by RTDC, that is Rajasthan Tourism Development Corporation, in association with the Indian Railways. Then we have Golden Chariot, which offers luxury travel experience to offbeat destinations of South India, and it is operated by Karnataka State Tourism Development Corporation. Then we have Deccan Odyssey, which offers luxury travel experience on the route of Western and South India to boost tourism in the Maharashtra area and the South area, right? So Deccan Odyssey is a joint venture of Maharashtra government and the Ministry of Railways, Government of India. Then comes the road transport. As you can see, this is a picture of a bus which is run by Delhi Tourism, and popularly it is known as the HoHo bus. जैसा कि आप इसके विंडो पे एक लोगो देख सकते हैं, it looks like a dancing chap, but it's actually HOHO. HOHO stands for hop on, hop off. You can buy its ticket and you can hop off anytime at any of the destination that you feel. You spend the time at the destination, and the next buses, whatever are coming on the route, you can hop on again. So आपके पास रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है कि आप एक ही बस से बाउंड हैं, आप कभी भी एक बस से उतरिए, दूसरी बस में आप हो के चढ़ जाइए और आपको एक सिंगल टिकट से you can visit the entire city of Delhi. And this is a very special, unique sort of bus being run by the Delhi Tourism. और इस तरह की बहुत सारी लग्जरी बसेस अब इंडिया में चलती हैं, स्पेशली साउथ में, राजस्थान में, पंजाब में, हिमाचल में. यू विल फाइंड all luxury Volvo or AC coaches being run. Then coming to shipping, of course, I just told you that we have Angarya as the first cruise liner of India, indigenously built. Then you have Jalesh Cruises, which is a brand of Jalesh Cruises of Mauritius, and it is India's first multi-destination cruise line. Goa, but Jalesh is a multi-destination cruise line, right? So you will find recreation, food, casino, all clubbed into one. In fact, a cruise itself is not a mode of transportation, but cruise is a destination itself. So it's an attraction. So you find activities related to recreation, sports. Then of course, cuisine is a big attraction to stay in a cruise line, and you have sporting activities like casino in the cruise. You have various activities related to celebrations, and of course I just told you a few minutes back that these cruises can also be a big attraction for MICE, meetings, incentive, conferences and events. Then coming to shipping transport again, you have the Golden Triangle Cruise. Then we have Andaman Islands Glass Bottom Cruise, wherein the bottom of the boat or the ship is made of glass, so you can see the flora and fauna underneath the surface of the sea. Then we also have the Chilka Lake Cruise, we have the Kochi Cruise, we have the Goa Cruise, we have Dibru Saikova River Cruises, we have Brahmaputra River Cruise, we have Sundarban Boat Cruise, we have Kerala Backwater Boat Cruise, we have Ganges River Cruise, which is started in Varanasi, and we also have a river cruise right from Ganga, from Varanasi, which goes up to Hooghly. Right, the picture you can see is of a houseboat, which is on the banks of the backwaters in Kerala. Right, then transport, local transport, you have the taxis, you have the cabs, you have the car rentals, and you have the bus services. Like we have online taxi services, primarily you have the Ola cabs, you have the Uber cabs in India, then we have Rapido, motorbike taxi services as well in some parts of the country, and in states like Goa and Delhi NCR you can hire a bike also, and you can have a riding services which is done by a professional driver, and you can hop at the back of the bike as a pillion, right? And then we have various car rental companies like, there are various companies which are big car rental companies like Hertz, Avis, Rent a Car, Carzone. ये सब बहुत बड़ी-बड़ी companies हैं जो कि tour operators को भी गाड़ियाँ provide कराती हैं, साथ-साथ आपको भी कराती हैं as tourists, right? Then we have the concept of the intermediaries. Travel करने वाले और डेस्टिनेशन के बीच में जो सुविधा प्रोवाइड करते हैं उनको हम इंटरमीडियरीज कहते हैं. Intermediaries basically are the linkage between the travel seekers and the service providers, right? So you've got the concepts of online travel agents, which are known as OTAs or online travel aggregators भी हम लोग अपनी भाषा में कहते हैं. We have the concept of OTMs, online travel marketplace, like Trivago. Then OTAs are companies like MakeMyTrip.com, Yatra.com, right? And then you have Trivago, you have various other companies like ClearTrip.com, TravelGuru.com, and so on. GoIbibo.com. So these are big companies who provide you all the services online. Then there are other companies which are basically not OTAs but who are hardcore in tour operations, like you have KC Tours, you have Thomas Cook. So intermediaries are travel agents, tour operators, online travel agents and travel aggregators. Keone, SOTC, there are a number of companies which are there, which act as the intermediary. So they are basically, I'm repeating, the link between the travel seeker, that is the tourist, and the travel service providers. So these companies will fetch you the airline tickets, maybe the railway tickets, the bus tickets like Red Bus is there, right? And then hotel accommodation, guiding services, shopping services, all the things that you can imagine you will require at a destination will be provided to you by these travel intermediaries, maybe in form of a package, a tour package, or maybe in form of separate services given independently. Then comes accommodation. Accommodation, you have the hotels, the lodges, the dharmshalas, the bed and breakfast schemes, accommodation providers, homestays, heritage hotels, resorts, and so on. Right? The popular hotel chains in India are Fortune Hotels. They have 53 properties in India. Sarovar Hotels and Resorts. They have 88 properties in India. Then you have companies like Club Mahindra. You have Taj Resorts and Palaces. You have Oberoi's. Then you have Radisson. They have 90 properties in India. You've got Seasons Group, which has 194 properties in India. You've got Leisure Hotels. They've got 312 properties in India. You've got Accor Hotel Group, 82 properties. Oyo Rooms. Oyo Rooms has 35,664 properties in India. Then Concept Hospitality having 79 properties. Then Clark's Inn is a group which has 74 properties. Ginger of the Taj Group has 28 properties. Then Stay Simple has 57. Lemon Tree Hotels has 67 properties. And the Royal Oberoi Group has around 70 properties in India. These are some of the popular hotel chains in India, and I've told you the number of properties also owned by them. A lot of standalone hotels are now going in for branded chains on a lease model, so that the marketing and the booking aspects of their particular properties are taken care of by the big hotel chains. Then you have various support services. Support services fulfill the basic needs in addition to the special extras which make the experience more enjoyable. These are the add-ons, the value add-ons that the tourist requires apart from the basic needs like accommodation and transportation. So you have the value additions like shopping facilities and services, souvenir shops, you have duty-free stores, you have laundry facilities, you have grocery and departmental stores, you have tour guide services, you have sports and recreation, and you have entertainment facilities, which become the value addition for all these. Right? Then coming to the attractions, of course, the first A of the component, attractions can be natural, it can be man-made. Like this is a picture of Kaziranga National Park, where single-horned rhinos are found in India. As you can see, the tourists are on an elephant safari. They are watching the wildlife and they are watching the rhino by climbing up on an elephant safari. And then you have beaches. So natural attraction can be sun, the sand, the beaches, the wildlife, right? Any such place which is a natural can be a natural attraction, which is made by God or the nature is a natural attraction. Right? You can see some of the pictures. Lakes. This is a picture of your very own Pangong Lake. Then you have a picture over here which is related to the Dal Lake in Srinagar with the shikaras over there. Then you have man-made attractions like the Durga Puja pandals can be a big attraction. Fairs and festivals are man-made. Monuments are man-made, right? Then you have fairs like Pushkar Fair. Then cuisine, food fairs, dance forms. These are all man-made. Then monuments like temples, like BT station of Mumbai, like Qutub Minar, Sanchi Stupa, right? Taj Mahal, all the Gateway of India, the Charminar, these are all man-made. So any attraction which is made by the human beings is considered to be a man-made. It may be in a physical form like the monuments, or it may be in a non-physical form like dance forms, race festivals, and so on. Right? This is a picture of Ran Utsav. Ran Utsav is celebrated right from the month of October till January and February beginning in the Ran of Kutch, that is in the district of Bhuj in Gujarat. It is purely a man-made festival, and it attracts lakhs of tourists every year, not just domestic but also international. And you'll be happy to know that the souvenir sales alone during this 100-day festival gives the local population an income of around 25 crores. So it's purely a man-made tourist attraction, and that too on a place which is a sand, right? It is a white sand and it is salt basically. It's a run of Kutch. Kutch में दूर दूर तक जहाँ आप देखेंगे 700 square kilometers of white salt you can see over there. और वहाँ पे every year this entire tent city is erected and it is dismantled. So 100 days से अब तो बढ़ा दिया उन्होंने, अक्टूबर से लेकर फरवरी beginning तक रण उत्सव वहाँ पे चलता है. You have fairs, you have festivals out there, you have dances, you have shopping, you have souvenirs, you have various sporting activities being offered, you have various cultural shows being offered. So a complete package of tourist attraction have been made in the Ran Utsav in the Ran of Kutch in Bhuj district of Gujarat. I believe such type of man-made festivals for tourist attraction can very much be a part of Ladakh as well. Like Ladakh में Sindhu festival तो हम लोग celebrate करते हैं, उसको थोड़ा सा और escalate करते हैं, tent cities और ये सब बना दें और cultural activities add कर दें. So this can be a big attraction for attracting international and domestic tourists. Then we have the infrastructure, refers to the components, like I said, the fourth A of the basic components, that is amenities, right? So infrastructure is a part of the amenities. The infrastructure refers to the components that provide the basic framework for effective functioning and development of tourism. We have infrastructure components such as water supply, electric supply, sewage and solid waste disposal, drainage system, telecommunications. आज के ज़माने में ये सब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल कंपोनेंट बहुत एसेंशियल है और इनके बिना आपकी स्मूथ लिविंग टूरिस्ट डेस्टिनेशन पे नहीं हो सकती है, इसलिए दे आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Then what are the organizations that are important for managing tourism in the country? So first and foremost is the government organization. You have the Ministry of Tourism, the Government of India, which has a big advertisement campaign and promotional campaign by the name of Incredible India. ये हमारा स्लोगन है हिंदुस्तान को, इंडिया को प्रमोट करने के लिए देश के अंदर और देश के बाहर भी. So Ministry of Tourism, Government of India बहुत सारे initiatives लेती है under the banner of Incredible India. Recently the website has been revamped and now you should go and visit the incredibleindia.org website, which is a completely refurbished new website, and it gives you a lot of great inputs about the tourism destinations of the country and how to move about. Then at the state level you have the state tourism departments and you have the state tourism development corporations who take care of the policy making and the implementation part of the policies for the respective states and union territories, right? And of course every state tourism development board or STDCs or tourism departments have a unique slogan to them. Like UP has UP नहीं देखा तो इंडिया नहीं देखा as their slogan. राजस्थान है जाने क्या दिख जाए as their slogan. और they welcome by the slogan पधारो हमारे देश. Like Madhya Pradesh tourism has Heart of Incredible India is their slogan. Then coming to the private sector में बहुत सारे associations हैं जो कि private sector के organizations को एक साथ करके चलाते हैं. Like we have IATO, which is one of the foremost association. Its full form is Indian Association of Tour Operators. Then we have the TAI. TAI stands for Travel Agents Association of India. We have HAI, that is Hotel Association of India. We have FHRAI, that is Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Associations of India. And we also have Outbound Tour Operators Association of India. We have Adventure Tour Operators Association of India. We have Domestic Tour Operators Association of India, that is ADTOI. And of course, now we have an umbrella body of all these by the name of FAITH, Federation of Association of Indian Tourism and Hospitality, right? FAITH. So there are various organizations and associations of the private organizations that work closely with the government for the promotion and development of tourism in the country. Now, this was the what part of it in brief. Though it takes around 40 odd hours to teach you what tourism is, but I had to club this in within 40 minutes. So I've just briefed you about what tourism is. आपको और ज़्यादा जानकारी के लिए चाहिए तो I can recommend you a few books and all. Of course, One Buddhism ने भी एक किताब छापी है जिसमें आप इसमें तरह के chapters हैं on tourism. You can go through the study material as well. Now coming to the important part of it, why? Why is tourism important? ये तो ठीक है tourism है कि हमने पढ़ लिया. Tourism ज़रूरी क्यों है? Why are we focusing so much on tourism? Why is it that the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, says that for 21st century we have to have 5 T's to develop the country, and out of those 5 T's, one of them is tourism. And of course, one of the most important economic activity as far as employment generation and earning foreign exchange and transfer of money from one hand to another and the development of the society is considered to be tourism. So tourism is a vital source of income for many countries including India, and tourism generates income through the consumption of goods and services by the tourists. Tourism generates income through the opportunity for employment in the service industries associated with tourism, right? And then it creates a lot of employment opportunities. You'll be surprised to know that every 10th person in the world is directly or indirectly employed in tourism industry. We talk of IT industry and oil industry and so on, but potentially tourism is the largest employment generating industry in the world. Every 10th person is working directly and indirectly into tourism related jobs. Then tourism has a lot of social benefits, of course. Social exchanges take place when tourists come in contact with the inhabitants of the place they visit. Like during my first visit in Ladakh, the one thing that attracted me was the dressing sense of the Ladakhi people. Right? Then I interacted with them. I went to one of the local person's place, had food over there, and this is how, and I became friends with a lot of people in Ladakh. And during one of the visits, I of course came in picture with One Buddhism and Andhra movement. So I've got friends in Korea now through this. So this is social benefit that basically percolated because of tourism activity. I've traveled to these places as a tourist on official tours, on a personal tour, and this is how I benefited out of them. They come to know about my style of living, the place I belong to, my culture, my traditions and customs are shared with them. I learned to know about the customs and traditions of the people of the place where I visit. So that gives me a lot of social benefits as well. Right? As you can see over here, the tourists mingling with the local population, learning about their cultures, and I'm happy to share a lot of our students have started the ventures wherein they share the experiences of the local experiences are shared with the tourists. So you have concepts like rural tourism, farm tourism, agri-tourism, right? जहाँ पे local population के साथ लोग रहते हैं, उनकी lifestyle को समझते हैं, उनकी तरह रहना चाहते हैं, उनसे handicraft बनाना सीखते हैं, उनसे वो सब चीजें सीखते हैं कि वो कैसे करते हैं, pottery making, right? Farming, ये सब चीजें आजकल बहुत popular हैं और लद्दाख में सारे के सारे tourism product बहुत जोर शोर से आ सकते हैं, बस हमें उनको पैकेज अच्छे से करना है और उनको मार्केट अच्छे से करना है. Right? You can see cultural enrichment. कैसी बहुत सारे फेयर्स एंड फेस्टिवल्स कंट्री में होते हैं जिससे टूरिस्ट आते हैं और सीखते हैं और बहुत कुछ जानते हैं जैसे गणेश उत्सव है महाराष्ट्र में, साउथ में very popular, right? Then you have education tours, of course. People visit various places and they get a lot of important knowledge sharing is also done through tourism. Tourism is also, of course, a vital force for peace. जहाँ पे टूरिज्म है वहाँ टेररिज्म नहीं है, क्योंकि लोग आपस में मिलते जुलते हैं, प्यार भाव सद्भाव बढ़ता है. Tourism is one platform which bridges the psychological and cultural distances that separate people of different races, color, religions, and stages of social and economic development. Now coming to the global tourism scenario, global tourism sector has witnessed robust growth in 2018. Of course, 2020 will be an exceptional year in our lives, which we like to delete. But till 2019 and 2018, we've got a good economic growth. The global economy of tourism grew at 3.2% in 2018. And tourism witnessed a growth of 3.9%. That means tourism grew by 3.9% as compared to the total economy growth at 3.2%. So our growth was higher than the sectors such as construction, retail, wholesale and healthcare. The sector has accounted for 10% of the total employment, supporting nearly 319 million jobs. 1 million is equal to 10 lakh. And over the last 5 years, 1 in 5 of all jobs created are created in tourism. So almost 20% of the jobs created in the last 5 years have been created by tourism sector. The international tourism receipts has been to the tune of 1,340 billion. 1340 billion dollars के बराबर टूरिज्म से इनकम जनरेट हुई है पूरी दुनिया में, और $1 बिलियन का मतलब है approximately 7,400 करोड़ रुपया. So 1 billion is equal to 7,400 crores approximately. So 1,340 billion dollars को आप जब rupees में convert करेंगे, we can very well imagine the amount of money that tourism has created all over the world. Maybe आपकी पेज की लाइन खत्म हो जाएगी, but जीरो खत्म नहीं होंगे अगर हम इसको rupees में convert करेंगे. So again coming to the picture, why tourism matters? Tourism matters because it leads to cultural preservation. It leads to environmental protection, it leads to peace and security, it leads to the creation of jobs. Tourism leads economic growth of the local population and the area. Tourism leads to development. Tourism creates 1 in every 10 jobs. Tourism has created 1.6 trillion US dollar exports. Tourism contributes 10% of the total world's gross domestic product. Tourism alone contributes 7% of the world's exports, and 30% of the total services exports are accounted for by tourism. So almost 1/3 of the total services exports are because of the tourism. So tourism is much bigger than you can imagine. Such a huge industry, such a huge money spinning industry. थोड़ा सा बता दें आपको ग्लोबली क्या है इंटरनेशनल टूरिज्म सिनेरियो. In 2018, international tourist arrivals increased 6% to reach 1.4 billion globally, and as per UNWTO forecast, this figure was expected to be achieved in 2020, but 1.4 billion tourists have been visited in 2018 itself. Of course, 2020 will see almost a 70% decline in the number of tourists as compared to 2019. Europe accounts for more than half of the international tourist arrivals, followed by Asia and the Pacific, and the growth in international tourist arrivals is expected to be 3 to 4%, which was achieved there. Then the overall number of tourists is on the rise in India. In 2018, the FTAs that means the foreign tourist arrivals were 10.56 million. So 10.56 million foreigners came to India and visited India in 2018. The growth rate was 5.2% year on year, which is a very healthy growth rate. तो वर्ल्ड में 3.9% ग्रोथ हुई, हमारे देश में 5.20% ग्रोथ रेट हुई. So we are developing, we are growing more than the world average. The total number of domestic tourist visits in the states and UTs was 1652.2 million, registering a growth of 2.3% over 2016. India still has a considerable small share of FTAs, which is only 0.76%. So we still can imagine the amount of money that we can earn अगर हम foreign tourist arrivals अपने देश में और ज़्यादा बढ़ा पाते हैं. Target हमारा है to raise it to 1% by 2020 and 2% of the world share by 2025. So 2020 is gone. So now we'll target to raise this share of India and international tourist arrivals from 0.76% to 2% by 2025. As of 17-18, 81.1 million people are employed in the tourism sector in India, which was 12.38% of the total employment in the country, which is very, very high. You can see almost 12.5% of the total employment in the country is in tourism alone, and 81.1 million people are employed directly and indirectly in the tourism sector. As far as foreign exchange is considered, tourism has emerged as the third largest foreign exchange earner for the country. हम दुनिया भर के इंडस्ट्रीज की बात करते हैं, बट आपको जान के आश्चर्य होगा कि सबसे ज़्यादा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज कमाने वाली इंडस्ट्री में टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री नंबर 3 पे आती है, राइट? सो वी अर्न अराउंड 1.97 ट्रिलियन, यानी कि 1,97,000 करोड़ रुपए जो है ये फॉरेन टूरिस्ट अराइवल से हमने देश में कमाया है. यहाँ पे डोमेस्टिक टूरिज्म की बात नहीं हो रही है. ये 10.56 मिलियन टूरिस्ट जो इंडिया में आए, उन्होंने 1,97,000 करोड़ रुपया इंडिया में खर्चा किया, which is 5.4% of the total exports, right? India ranks 14th in the world in terms of the foreign exchange earnings. So अभी आप देख रहे हैं 2013 में हमारा जो रैंक थी अकॉर्डिंग टू वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम एक ट्रैवल एंड टूरिज्म कॉम्पिटिटिव इंडेक्स बनाता है कि किस कंट्री की रैंक टूरिज्म और ट्रैवल में कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस के हिसाब से कहाँ पे है. So we were 65th ranked in 2013 and we have reached 40th rank in 2017 and we have reached 36th probably rank in 2019. So हम करीब 30 रैंक्स 30 कंट्रीज को पछाड़ चुके हैं पिछले 5-6 सालों में as far as tourism and travel competitiveness index is considered, right? So India excels in various parameters such as natural resources पे हमारी competitiveness index ranking जो है वो 24th आती है. Cultural resources, business travel में we are ranked 9th in the world. Price competitiveness में we are ranked 10th in the world, right? Our e-visa initiative has helped India climb up 14 places in the international openness parameter to 55th position. E-visa means electronic visa. Now India offers e-visa to almost 169 countries. 169 countries के लोग अपने देश में इंटरनेट के थ्रू अप्लाई करके इंडिया से ई-वीजा पा सकते हैं. ई-वीजा ऑन अराइवल, राइट? So India has also emerged as a tourism powerhouse in World Tourism and Travel Council Performance Report in 2018. आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ पे कि 2011 से 17 के फिगर्स में एब्सोल्यूट नंबर्स में टूरिज्म एंड ट्रैवल कंट्रीब्यूशन टू जीडीपी में 3rd रैंक पे है, और विजिटर एक्सपोर्ट या फॉरेन एक्सचेंज अर्निंग में 8th रैंक पे है, डोमेस्टिक स्पेंडिंग में 3rd रैंक पे है, कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट में 3rd रैंक पे है. So India has been ranked 3rd in the travel and tourism countries power ranking, which are based on 4 key indicators. They are total travel and tourism GDP, foreign exchange earnings, that means foreign visitor spending, domestic spending, and travel and tourism capital investment. Right, so this is, I think the time is running fast, so I'll just brush up. We have the concept of seasonality in tourism. So foreign tourist arrivals is greatly affected by the seasonality, and in India we see the foreign tourism, the inbound season is from the month of October till the end of March. That is the prime 6 months of foreign tourist arrivals in the country, right? So outbound tourism from India is 23.94 million, inbound is 10.56 million, outbound is 23.94 million, and annual growth rate is 9.5%. तो इसको देख के लग रहा है जितने देश में आ रहे हैं उससे डबल से ज़्यादा देश के बाहर जा रहे हैं, ऐसा सच है. लेकिन इनकम के मामले में हमारी इनकम बाहर जाने वाले खर्चे से ज़्यादा है. So 10.56 million tourists are spending more in India as compared to 24 million Indians going abroad and spending abroad. So the balance of payment is in favor of the tourism industry. It's a plus, it's a surplus balance of payment. But yes, it's a matter of concern. ये जो फॉरेन जा रहे हैं हमारे देशवासी, इनको कैसे हम अपने देश में ही घूमने पे प्रमोट कर सकें. That will be a great achievement for us to promote domestic tourism, reduce on the outbound tourism, promote domestic tourism. And I believe this pandemic of coronavirus has created a great opportunity for the tourism industry, especially for the domestic tourism. Now people, because of the various air travel curbs, are unable to go out of India. So that money which people used to spend out of India by going abroad will now be spent in India through domestic tourism route. So now will be the time of आस-पास देखो. हम लोग ये कोशिश करेंगे कि हमारे देश में ही लोग घूमें, हमारे देश में ट्रैवल करें. और आजकल नया कॉन्सेप्ट भी आ रहा है जिसको हम लोग रिवेंज टूरिज्म कहते हैं. रिवेंज टूरिज्म के तौर पे पीपल हैव बीन लॉक्ड डाउन फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 7-8 months. They have started traveling to the nearby areas and spending money, right? So this will be a great boost up time after the pandemic is over. People will start traveling within the country more rather than going abroad, right? So this is the rate of domestic tourist visits, 1652.9 million. ये आपको बताओ तो ये नंबर ऑफ डोमेस्टिक टूरिस्ट नहीं है, नंबर ऑफ डोमेस्टिक टूरिस्ट विजिट्स हैं. क्योंकि आपके देश की हमारी पॉपुलेशन 1300 मिलियन है और 1652 मिलियन अगर टूरिस्ट आपको दिख रहा है तो आपका आश्चर्य होगा ना. 1300 मिलियन तो टोटल पॉपुलेशन है, 1600 मिलियन टूरिस्ट कैसे हो सकते हैं. तो ये टूरिस्ट नहीं है, टूरिस्ट विजिट्स है. अगर मैं देश में 20 बार ट्रैवल करता हूँ तो आई एम काउंटेड एज 20 टाइम्स, राइट? सो दिस इज द नंबर ऑफ विजिट्स. India's position in terms of foreign tourist arrivals is 1.2% now, share of India. India's rank in international tourist arrivals is 26. Share of India in international tourism receipts, that is the money earnings, is 2.1%, and India's rank in international tourist receipts is 13th. So 26वीं रैंक है नंबर ऑफ टूरिस्ट पाने में हमारी देश पूरी दुनिया में, बट पैसे जनरेशन में उनसे रिसीट के मामले में हमारी 13वीं रैंक है. So on an average, to foreign tourists who come to India stay for 21 days, and there is a scope of further increase in the view of the availability of the resources and the tourism products we have. हमें कोशिश ये करनी है कि विदेशी टूरिस्ट जो हमारे देश में 21 दिन रह रहा है उसको स्टे को हम 21 दिन से और बढ़ाएं. फॉर वन सिंपल रीजन, जितने दिन टूरिस्ट यहाँ रहेगा उतना ही बड़ा इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट हमारे देश को होगा. जितने ज्यादा दिन रहेंगे उतना ज्यादा वो खर्चा करेंगे, तो इसलिए हमारे पूरे कंट्री को इससे बेनिफिट होगा, राइट? ये बात, ये पाई चार्ट आपको दिखाता है परसेंटेज शेयर ऑफ टॉप 10 स्टेट्स और यूटीज इन इंडिया एंड डोमेस्टिक टूरिस्ट विजिट्स इन 2017. तो आप देख सकते हैं तमिलनाडु का सबसे बड़ा शेयर है, नंबर 1 पे तमिलनाडु है 20.9%, उत्तर प्रदेश 14.2%, कर्नाटका 10.9%, आंध्र प्रदेश 10%, महाराष्ट्र 7.2%, तेलंगाना 5.2% शेयर, वेस्ट बंगाल 4.8%, मध्य प्रदेश 4.7%, गुजरात 2.9%, राजस्थान 2.8%, and all the other states and UTs clubbed together have a share of 16.4%. बाकी सारे स्टेट्स को मिला के, यूटीज को मिला के 16% शेयर आ रहा है जो यहाँ पे मेंशन. उनके अलावा और तमिलनाडु अकेले का 21% ऑलमोस्ट शेयर है डोमेस्टिक टूरिस्ट विजिट्स. Now in terms of foreign tourist visits, you have Maharashtra as number 1 at 18.19% share, Tamil Nadu 18.1%, Uttar Pradesh 13.2%, Delhi 10.2% and so on. ये है फॉरेन टूरिस्ट जो हमारे देश में आते हैं वो किस स्टेट में सबसे ज़्यादा जाते हैं. तो महाराष्ट्र में 18.9% लोग जा रहे हैं फॉरेन टूरिस्ट. तमिलनाडु इज क्लोजली फॉलोइंग एट 18.1%. 2019 का जो फिगर है वो मुझे याद है. अब 2019 में नंबर 1 पे तमिलनाडु आ गया है, नंबर 2 पे महाराष्ट्र आ गया है, राइट? सो दिस इज ई वीज़ा, इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ ई वीज़ा. एज आई टोल्ड यू, अभी करीब 169 कंट्रीज में के नेशनल्स को इंडिया देता है थ्रू 28 इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट्स एंड 5 सी पोर्ट्स. और 2018 में 2.37 मिलियन फॉरेन टूरिस्ट इंडिया में ई वीज़ा फैसिलिटी को लेके आए. ई वीज़ा में ये है कि आपको इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली अप्लाई करना है। आप मतलब जो फॉरेनर्स हैं उनको इंडिया की एम्बेसी में जाके अप्लाई करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, वो ऑनलाइन अप्लाई कर सकते हैं और विद इन 72 आवर्स दे रिसीव अ डॉक्यूमेंट कॉल्ड ETA, दैट इज इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रैवल ऑथराइजेशन, और वो उस डॉक्यूमेंट को लेके टिकट बुक करके इंडिया में आ सकते हैं 28 इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट्स पे और 5 सी पोर्ट्स पे, और वहाँ उन एयरपोर्ट्स पे इंडिया में आने के बाद वो वीजा ले सकते हैं। दिस इज द फैसिलिटी ऑफ ई वीजा, राइट। सो एंड ऑफ कोर्स आपको ये भी बता दूं, बहुत सारी गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम्स चल रही हैं, लाइक स्वदेश दर्शन प्रसाद स्कीम जो कि टूरिज्म को प्रमोशन के लिए मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टूरिज्म चलाती है। देन वी हैव स्वच्छता एक्शन प्लान, और आप एक नंबर याद कर लें, विच इज अ टोल फ्री मल्टीलिंगुअल टूरिस्ट इन्फो लाइन, राइट, टूरिस्ट इंफॉर्मेशन हेल्पलाइन, जो शॉर्ट कोड है 1363, जो कि 12 इंटरनेशनल लैंग्वेजेस में चल रही है, मतलब 10 इंटरनेशनल लैंग्वेजेस और हिंदी और इंग्लिश, सो टोटल 12 लैंग्वेजेस में चल रही है। कभी भी किसी भी टूरिस्ट को दिक्कत हो, इवन आपको भी दिक्कत हो, तो आप इस हेल्पलाइन पे डायल करके इंफॉर्मेशन ले सकते हैं, हेल्प पा सकते हैं। इट इज अ 24/7 टोल फ्री मल्टीलिंगुअल टूरिस्ट इन्फो लाइन, शॉर्ट कोड आई एम रिपीटिंग 1363, टोल फ्री नंबर 1800111363। I'll repeat 1800111363 और 1363। And I'm happy to share, ये जो टूरिस्ट इन्फो लाइन शुरू की गई थी, ये हमारे ITTM नोएडा से शुरू की गई थी और पूरे 1.5 साल तक इसको हमारे MBA के स्टूडेंट्स ने मैनेज किया था। Then it was of course expanded and now it has almost 150 employees working to manage 1363 toll free number for tourist helpline, right? So important drivers are diverse attractions. इंडिया में बहुत डाइवर्स पोर्टफोलियो है टूरिज्म प्रोडक्ट्स का, लाइक कल्चर, हेरिटेज, क्रूजेस, एडवेंचर, मेडिकल, वेलनेस, स्पोर्ट्स, गोल्फ, पोलो, माइस, फिल्म्स, रूरल टूरिज्म, रिलीजियस टूरिज्म एंड सो ऑन। एंड ऑफ कोर्स अभी ऑफ लेट आई हैव सीन a few new unique tourism products being created, like Ran of Kutch आपको मैंने बताया। दूसरा है स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी इन गुजरात। The Statue of Unity is the highest standing statue in the world with the height of 182 meters। तो दुनिया का सबसे ऊंचा स्टैचू है। अभी कुछ दिन पहले प्रधानमंत्री जी वहाँ पे गए थे, उन्होंने बहुत सारे सी प्लेन का इनॉग्रेशन वहाँ से किया है, जो कि सी प्लेन विल बी अ फ्लाइट ऑफ 45 मिनट्स फ्रॉम साबरमती, फ्रॉम द बैंक्स ऑफ साबरमती रिवर इन अहमदाबाद टू एरिया ऑफ स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी। तो सी प्लेन विल बिकम एन अट्रैक्शन, और स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी के आसपास के बहुत सारे टूरिस्ट अट्रैक्शन को प्रधानमंत्री जी ने इनॉग्रेट किया है। सो दिस इज हाउ वी क्रिएट मैन मेड टूरिज्म प्रोडक्ट आउट ऑफ नथिंग। वी हैव क्रिएटेड द वर्ल्ड्स टॉलेस्ट स्टैच्यू एंड द स्टैच्यू एंड द सराउंडिंग एरियाज हैव बिकम अ बिग अट्रैक्शन। So this is all for today. Thank you so much, Julie, and you can note down my email ID in case of any problem, any query. You can simply shoot down an email to me, and this is my email ID, drpawan.gupta@yahoo.com. I'll repeat, drpawan.gupta@yahoo.com. Thank you so much, Julie. Have a very happy training. And do promote tourism in India, be the brand ambassador of the country and the Union Territory of Ladakh. Thank you so much.